Who just popped in? Let's go over to chat. Rose is here. Yeehaw! You guys are so silly. So silly. Let's see, Emma's here. Sam. Andy. Hi, everybody. Okay. Let's see. Irma said the link's not working. Let me give her another one. It's good to see everyone else is able to get on. I don't know why. Let's see. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to get a link to one of my students who's saying the link isn't working when they click on it. Okay. I see and hear you, but I can't see the chat screen. Oh, Lord, technology. Oh, Irma is here. Irma, oh my God. Miss Williams says she can't see the chat. Oh, boy. I love that you guys are like having full-on conversations. Aileen is here. Hey, Aileen. This guy. What's up? This guy. Miss Williams says she can't see the chat. Miss Williams, maybe like log out and then re-log in again. This is like too much. I can't do. Okay. Well, let's give folks a few more minutes to come on. Just chilling. Oh God, no, don't post that. No. You saw that was not me. I have a twin. We have the same name. And yeah, that's who that was. That wasn't me. I have no idea what you're talking about. Nothing, James. You didn't miss anything. Oh, I can see your faces. I had to get rid of the chat. They should like figure out a way where you can like chat on one side and then have like your faces on the other side. Because when I'm chatting, it blocks your face. Does that happen to anyone else? You guys are so productive. Yes. Is it a good thing if you got on CBS? Yeah, but yes. No, we have sections. Yeah, one part to see everyone in the call. Exactly. They need to update that. I'm going to write Google an email. Hi, Ari. Assalamu alaikum. Ooh, Rose, you're going to have to figure out a way to share some of your drawings. Rukaya is here. Yes, I feel like I've been so productive. One part for the info. Exactly. Yeah, Colin. See, they need to listen to us. They need to listen to us. They need to get it together. Yeah. And like I feel like I should be able to see you guys in the chat when I'm presenting. That also has its own sets of challenges, you know? It's so weird. We all need to like start a email writing campaign. Hello, Idris. Welcome. Idris just joined and someone else. All right. We'll give it a few more minutes and then we'll get started. Michelle's in the house. Hey, Michelle. Michelle, your drawing was beautiful. I was putting stuff in last night. I'm just blown away by the talent that you guys have. I wish I could share it with you guys, but I don't know if she'd want me to. You're welcome. Yeah, I can see you, Sam. If you want, you can. I can? Okay. All right, hold on. Let's see if I can find it really quickly. One of my favorite things about being able to teach is is there a different link? I'm going to send hold on one second, guys. I'm going to send Miss Williams a link because maybe, it's so weird. Google Classroom, it's a mess. Google Hangouts. So one of the things I like to do as a teacher, I think is really important. I know a lot of you are like really artistic. You're like artists. And I think it's so important to bring that artistry into the classroom. And a lot of times my kids hate it when I assign something like this, but, oh, that's Aileen's. Aileen's is beautiful as well. Okay. Don't kill me, Michelle. I got a little bit messed up. I'm going to try to take it and get it laminated. But can you guys see? Oh, it's okay, Michelle. Isn't it awesome? Yeah, represents the 3/5 compromise. So I love it. Okay. 1,000 out of 10. Let's see if we can get Miss Williams in here. I don't know what's going on today. You guys are so supportive. I love that. Throwing pebbles. Okay. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about a few of the battles. And before we do that, obviously we're going to get started with some breathing techniques, and then we'll have our do now. So I'm going to present, and then let's see. Why are we cursing? Oh, we're not cursing. Okay. All right, present. A window. Miss Williams is here, yay! Share. Uh-oh. All right, are you guys ready for some breathing? About a minute of breathing. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to take about a minute to breathe and relax. You can close your eyes if you want to. You just want to breathe in all the good things, all the wonderful things that have happened to you. Breathe in deeply and exhale. And breathe in and exhale. And breathe in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. Breathe in and exhale. All right, one more before we get started. And exhale. All right. So we're going to get started. Just want to check the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. I really want them to do a better job with this because I really want to be able to see you guys. It's relaxing. Good. It makes me sleep. Oh, no, don't fall asleep. Bold of you to assume I breathe. You guys are funny. You guys are so funny. All right. Let me go back to the screen. Okay. All right. So the question for today, what does it mean when someone says the North won the battle but lost the war? What does that mean? So as always, let's get some hands in there. James. All right, James. Oh, wait, sorry, Irma. Oh, Miss Williams.
Yeah, Irma went first.
Okay. Ms. Williams, you are holding down the fort. So I'll just go back to the presentation screen.
So it means that when after the North won the Civil War, people were still racist. There was still violence and the KKK rise.
Ooh, okay. All right. And let's see who's next. I think James was next. You can unmute yourself.
So I would say that the North lost the war because ultimately they agreed to stop the Reconstruction process in order to keep the presidency. I believe that was Rutherford B. Hayes who did that. And after occupation pretty much ended, a lot of the racist policies came back. I mean, obviously it wasn't bad as it was before, but that's when things like segregation and Jim Crow law started.
Awesome. Okay. I can't tell if there's anybody else that needs to go. I'm gonna go back to the chat screen. Someone said, period, James. Okay. So we're going to spend some time today talking about, we have this, this sentiment that the North is going to, yeah, maybe they won the war, but they don't win the war after, right? And so we're going to talk about what that means in terms of them winning the war. And we're going to go into major battles. of the Civil War, talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about Blacks in the Civil War. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail, only because you guys definitely cover this during United States history, U.S. history. So this will be covered. And I know that most teachers spend a lot of time on the Civil War because of the battles. And it tends to be like all blood, guts, and gory, and very gory. So I won't go into too much detail, but I did want to give you guys a little bit of an overview of the different battles in the Civil War. So is there anyone that has any questions or anything before we get started? You can put your hand in, and then if Ms. Williams tell you to go, you can feel free to share before we get started. And I'll do like a 5-second countdown to make sure I am not missing anyone. All right. Okay, so the Civil War was a really bloody business. It's so funny because I know that like a lot of the guys in my classroom, they tend to like really perk up when we start talking about war and guns and blood and glory. So I always find that like really interesting. I never have to worry about anybody sleeping. So the first couple of battles of the Civil War are really interesting. Many of them are going to end in decisive Confederate wins. But one of the things that happens is like as the war starts to continue, things start to change. But in the very beginning, the Confederates are going to come away with the very first win. And so the Civil War officially begins April 12th. 1861. Okay, so this is after a ton of Southern states are like, I'm out. They decide to leave the Union and form their own country, essentially, the Confederate States of America. And so the first battle occurs, it's called the Battle of Fort Sumter, that occurs in Charleston, South Carolina. The general that is managing, I always his name, Beauregard. Here we go. Okay, so Beauregard is going to lead the Confederate Army to a decisive victory, and this is considered like the first blow of the Civil War, and things are going to be on and popping after that. And also, I'm only doing like the major battles, just FYI. So there are a ton of battles that were fought during the Civil War. There's no way we could cover all of them. So I'm only going to give you guys like an overview of some of the major battles. Okay, so then the next one is going to be July 21st, 1861. And this is called the first battle of Bull Run. This occurs in Virginia. And the leading general for the Confederates is, again, Beauregard. And he's also joined by Johnston. It is another Confederate win. But this one is really important because the Confederate general known as Thomas Stonewall Jackson gets his nickname. And I'm wondering if anybody could tell me why he's called Stonewall. Let's put our hands up in the chat. And first one who wants to share gets to go.
So they call him Stonewall Jackson because I believe in the Battle of Bull Run, he put up a very improbable defense against the Union. He was able to hold the line.
Yes, he was able to hold the line. And legend goes, I believe the officer's or general's name was General Green. And he was trying to rally his troops who were kind of losing heart. And so he goes, look at Jackson over there atop the hill, standing like a stone wall. And then he got killed. But it worked. the Confederate Army ends up winning, and then Thomas Stonewall Jackson got the nickname Stonewall. And so that's where that comes from. If you've ever heard of Stonewall Jackson, that's where he got his name from. So then the next battle is going to be the Battle of Shiloh. And you guys might know Ulysses Grant, because what does he later go on to do after the Civil War? Anybody?
He becomes president.
Yes, who's that?
Lydia.
Good job, Lydia. Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, he's later going to become president. And this is a Union win. Now, this battle is considered really important because even though the Union won the Battle of Shiloh, it resulted in heavy casualties on both sides. The Union actually ended up losing more men. So they won the battle, but they lost a lot of men as a result of it. As these battles start to progress, especially with the Battle of Shiloh, people start to realize this war that we thought was going to be over fairly quickly is not only not going to be over fairly quickly, it's also going to result in a extreme amount of lives lost. And that is exactly what happened. Okay, so the next major battle, can you guys see the board? Can someone let me know?
Mhm.
Yes? Okay, good. All right, so the next major battle is the Battle of Antietam, and the Southerners call this Sharpsburg. It's considered an extremely bloody battle. And this is the battle that occurs between Lee and McClellan. And if you guys know anything about these two men, and I think somebody just put it. Does someone have a question, or are you putting your hand up? No. Okay. So General McClellan is considered one of the big heavyweights of the generals for the Union, and Lee is as well. And also, fun fact: I don't know if I talked about this, but when the Civil War first started, Abraham Lincoln actually asked Lee to lead the Union Army. And anybody want to take a guess as to why Lee declined? Okay, why did Lee decline?
Does anybody else know? Does anyone else want to take a stab at it?
I don't know.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. He decided to go with the Confederacy because even though he personally opposed slavery, Virginia seceded from the Union and he felt more loyalty to his state. And that was a lot more of a common attitude at the time. People were still very connected to their state as opposed to the country as a whole.
Yeah, he was not going to trade right on the South. He wasn't going to throw them under the bus, and it was something that that Abraham Lincoln had a feeling was going to happen, but he had to act anyway because Lee had already distinguished himself in battle. Everyone knew he was a great general and that he would be a formidable opponent should he go to the other side, and he turned out to be just that. So this particular battle is important because even though in the Battle of Antietam, McClellan wins, there is not a pursuit. Now, a lot of people say that McClellan didn't pursue, and that is the reason why Lee was able to get away. And eventually, because Lee gets away, this extends the battle for a few more years. But the reality is, according to new information that came about, McClellan did not get the order to pursue until later on, well after the time that was originally reported. And the other thing is that a lot of people who said, can someone mute Okay, good. Okay, so the other thing that's really important about this is that Lee actually had more men than was originally thought. So McClellan had over 70,000 men, but Lee also did. And when it was originally reported, it was that Lee was really outnumbered by men. So what that means is this idea that McClellan absolutely crushed Lee's men, and that both of the armies, or that the Union Army outmatched the Confederate Army because they had more men, is simply not true. So this idea that McClellan didn't pursue because he was lazy may not actually be the reality. The reality might actually be that he didn't pursue because, well, A, he got those orders to pursue late, and then B, also his army needed to rest, and Lee's army was big as well. So maybe he just really didn't think that it was a wise idea to do it. In any case, Abraham Lincoln, when he hears that McClellan has the chance to end the war and doesn't, he starts to get increasingly frustrated. And eventually, around like September, he's like, you know what, McClellan, thank you for your service. You are no longer needed. And McClellan actually gets replaced by General Burnside, whose name I should probably put up here. Fun fact, McClellan is so upset with Lincoln firing him, he eventually decides to run for president in 1864. And he gives Lincoln a run for his money, but obviously we know he eventually loses. But I think it's kind of funny, like he got fired and he's like, I'll show you, Lincoln. I'm going to go and win the presidency. All right, so then the next one is the Siege of Vicksburg. This occurs May 18th to July 4th, 1863. And the general that is leading that charge is none other than Ulysses Grant. Another brilliant military strategist. Here's the other thing that a lot of people don't, that is kind of not talked about as much, but the reason the Union loses a lot of the initial battles is that they just don't have really good generals. And that starts to change around 1862, 1863, and they start to do a better job. McClellan actually is really significant, since we were already talking about him, and trying to get the army together. He does good with training them, and he really helps to turn the Union Army into what it is. All right, so back to Siege of Vicksburg. So Ulysses is like probably one of the best generals that the Union has, and he is able to continue to crank out those victories. So he actually helps the Union win this. This was really key. If you guys look at the date of that, 1863, this is when you're going to see the tide start to turn. The Battle of Antietam helps. Actually, after the Battle of Antietam, that is when Lincoln feels comfortable enough to share the Emancipation Proclamation and eventually put it out publicly January 1st, 1863. So when Ulysses S. Grant wins this battle, it essentially splits the Confederacy in two. So what that means is Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas are like out on a limb by themselves, and they're cut off from the rest of the Confederacy. Now, why is this significant? Why is the splitting of the Confederacy in two so significant? Anybody want to take a guess? Raise your hand, unmute yourself, take a stab at it. Why is this such a good military strategy? Anybody want to take a what? All right, everybody's whoops. Well, in the West, yes. A great move. James has his hand up. Go ahead, James. Or did Daisy?
The Mississippi was placed pretty much in half of the Confederacy, so it was really important to a really great artery the entire country. So if you can take control of that, that It's not split it in half.
Uh-oh. You got cut off there. That last sentence got a bit cut off.
It makes logistics very difficult for the CSA if they don't have the Mississippi.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, how can you get men? How can you get reinforcements? Can you get reinforcements? No, you
They
can't.
just have to do it.
You just have to do what?
Texas pretty much had to fight the war by itself.
Absolutely. Perfect. Another thing that is like an unsung hero of this war is the fact that the Union had a huge advantage in that they had a more complete system of railroads. So also they were able to get men and supplies to different places quicker than the Confederacy could too. So this also serves as a huge advantage. And still the Confederacy absolutely gave the Union a run for their money. It definitely could have gone either way. All right, so the next battle that we have, did we do? Okay, so the next battle that we have is the Battle of Chancellorsville. And this is really significant. This occurs in Virginia. One Lee, who was considered, they call him like Little Napoleon. He is considered to have fought a perfect battle during this battle, made no mistakes. It was a decisive victory, but the Confederate Army took a huge blow because Stonewall, who had been magnificent in the other battles before, was killed. And does anybody know why he was killed? I'm curious to see if anybody knows this, this little fun fact about the Civil War. So whoever puts their hand up in there, just unmute yourself because I can't see you guys. All right, so I guess that means nobody knows. So Stonewall was killed by friendly fire. Does anybody know what friendly fire is? Welcome to the chat. Shoot your own team. Yeah.
He shot his own teammate.
He sure did. He sure did. Yes. And so this was considered a huge blow for the Confederacy, and one that it's really hard for them to recover from. All right, so things are chugging along. The Union's starting to pick up those victories. And the next decisive and really important victory that occurs is right here in the state of Pennsylvania, the Battle of Gettysburg. And this happens from July 1st to the 3rd, 1863. Meade, who is the general for the Union, defeats Lee. Okay, and this is important because up until this point, right, Lee is trying to take the battle into the North because most of the fighting that is occurring is happening in the South. So Lee wants to launch an offensive. He wants to go into the North and make them play defense. And this is the last attempt that they have to do it. And unfortunately, he just can't pull it out. And the Union, well, actually not unfortunately, but he just can't pull it out. The Union wins. And this is the very last attempt that will be made for the North, for the Confederacy to invade the North. Now, something significant happens right after the Battle of Gettysburg. Anybody want to take a guess as to what that is? James?
The Emancipation Proclamation happens. Oh no, it would be a speech.
Wait, say that again.
It would be a speech, 14 score and 7 years ago.
Yes, yes, yes. And
So-
that is this speech right here, which I will send out to you guys. Oh, you can't see it because I clicked on the link. Or can you? Can you see it? No? Okay.
I can see it.
Oh, you can see it. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. So this is the speech right here. And I'm going to send this link to you guys. If you click on PDF, so it shows you the original. And then if you click on the PDF, here you go. So it gives you more information. So I will send that out to you guys so you have access to it. But that speech is probably one of the most famous speeches in the world. The only one that probably eclipses it or rivals it is Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. So I won't spend too much time on showing that, but it's important for you guys to know. Okay, so Gettysburg is the win that is definitely needed for the Union, and things are going to start going downhill after that. We have the Battle of Wilderness, which happens in Mississippi, and it's the first between the huge heavyweights, which is Lee and Grant. And because they are both heavyweights and they're both brilliant military strategies, it ends in an indecisive battle. There is a massive loss of life, a massive loss of, or I should say there was a lot of injuries that occurred as a result of it, and nobody wins. Then we keep them coming. May 31st to June 12th, 1864, the Battle of Cold Harbor. It is a win for the Confederacy. It is Lee's last big win. And once you get to July of 1864, it's literally all downhill from there. You have the Battle of Atlanta, which occurs in Georgia, obviously, where Sherman begins his march to the sea. And this is infamous because of the campaign that he wages. Anybody want to tell me why Sherman's march to the sea is such a big deal? Oh, awesome. Thank you, Miss Williams. Oh, Miss Williams put it in there. Total War. Yeah. And something called the scorched earth tactic. So literally, oh, yeah, anybody want to take a stab? Oh, James said I'm breaking up. That's not good. Am I still breaking up, guys? No? Okay. No, you're fine now. Okay. Okay, good. All right. So this is Sherman's march to the sea is infamous because the Union's basically like, you know what? We've been fighting for years and I'm sick of it. So now what we're going to do is we're essentially going to burn everything down to the ground, kill everything. And so literally the South is left in ruins. There is no chance. They did not want to take a chance that they would be able to regrow food. They didn't want to take a chance that they would be able to eat. They literally wanted to just completely end this war. And that's essentially what happens. April 9th, 1865, you have the Battle of Appomattox Courthouse. It is literally the final, or Appomattox, literally the final battle between Grant and Lee. And Lee surrenders at this battle because he loses. And eventually the rest of the Confederacy is going to follow suit. So, let me see, let me go to the chat. Did I miss something? Whoa. Yes. 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 they were not playing. Burned everything to the ground. They said, you will have no infrastructure. You will have nothing when we're through with you because we are sick of fighting. Okay. So I want to spend a little bit of time because what often is not, they don't spend a lot of time on this in United States history. And so there's two things. The 54th Regiment is a really important regiment. It is one that is pushed for and helped to create as a result, and is created as a result of the efforts of Frederick Douglass, who you guys all should know. So I have a little video here that I'm going to try to show you guys. Can somebody unmute themselves and let me know that you see the video?
Yeah, I can see it.
Awesome.
See it.
It's really
See.
short, so.
During the American Civil War, Frederick Douglass pushed President Lincoln to allow African American soldiers to fight for the North. He helped to organize an African American military unit, the 54th Massachusetts. Douglass personally asked young men to serve in the unit. Dozens of men, including 2 of his sons, answered his call.
Okay. And this unit decided to go months without payment. Whoops. Oh, no. No, go away. Okay. Okay. So this unit decided to go months without payment. They were considered one of the fiercest regiments in the Civil War, and they made a name for themselves in the storming of Fort Wagner. The North ended up losing Fort Wagner, but what stuck out the most from that is the bravery that was exhibited by the 54th Regiment. And there's a movie with Denzel Washington that does a really good job. I can't remember the name of it. Miss Williams, do you know the name of that movie? Let's see. Glory. Yes. Yeah. Heating until unbendable. Denzel. Yes. Denzel. It's a really good movie. So you guys have nothing to do. You should absolutely check it out. Ooh, my God, we're running low on time. All right. Here is another thing that's really important to talk about. Okay. I think the new routes in like series 3, in number 3 of the series, the new routes, I believe they show Fort Pillow. They show the massacre. Yes, and many other famous people in the cast. Yes. Yeah, there's a new routes. It came out in like 2016. You guys should check it out. Again, nothing else to do, right? Fort Pillow is really important because it is not only a loss for the Union, but there were Black soldiers that were fighting at Fort Pillow. And this guy, NB Nathan Bedford Forrest, decides that after the Union surrenders, he's not going to accept the surrender of the Black soldiers. Anybody want to take a guess as to what happens after that? Very good. Yeah, it is a really good series, Ari. Yes, there's a massacre. Mm-hmm. Good. Yes, he murders the Black soldiers in cold blood, basically lines them up in a line and shoots them. And so this is considered a really big deal. That's a war crime, actually. And this name should also be really familiar to you because he goes on to start a really pesky little organization that still happens to, or I should say, he goes on to lead and be one of the ones who starts this organization, and it's still around to this day. Oh, Ms. Williams. Yes, the KKK, also known as the Ku Klux Klan, which also happens to be very active here in Pennsylvania. Just FYI, if you guys did not know. Anybody want to take a guess as to which part of the country or which part of the state it's active in the most?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Western PA. Yep. Okay. So, I don't know if we have time to like really get into the other stuff. But that essentially is the Civil War in a nutshell, right? In a very condensed sort of way. The takeaways that I want you guys to have from this is Black people did not sit idly by as this war was raging and not fight. They wanted to fight. They begged to fight. They did not get the chance to actually fight until well into the war. After the Emancipation Proclamation is issued, it makes it possible for more Black regiments to pop up, and they fought they fought really hard because this wasn't just about, to them, it wasn't I want these states to come back into the Union. These soldiers were fighting for their mothers and their sisters and their brothers and their cousins and their family and friends to be out of bondage. Once the Civil War ends, the unthinkable is going to happen. But before we get there, I want to explain something. So anybody ever hear of the term 40 acres and a mule? Anybody want to take a stab at it? 40 acres and a mule. Spike Lee. Can go ahead,
Wasn't it like a Black family received like 4 acres of land and a mule?
So it wasn't 4, it was 40. And yes, trying to see myself on. Okay, so let me go back to presenting. 40 acres and a mule. So a lot of people have heard this statement before, and they have no idea where it came from. It actually comes from a special field order that was issued January 16th, 1865. And essentially what this says is basically all of the area in like the Carolinas down to parts of Florida, they wanted to take that area and they wanted to allot it for Black people. So they were supposed to, each family was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. Unfortunately, so they did confiscate the land. Some families did get it, but a few things to note. Not a lot of the land was actually workable. So it was like useless. The other thing is because of what happens post Reconstruction, and because of what happens to Lincoln, as we see indicated in this picture, that's never going to become realized because a lot of that land that was confiscated was plantation land or land from people who owned enslaved peoples and owned plantations. So they actually eventually gave that land back. Another thing that I did not mention during the war, which I think is really, really, really important, when we have this conversation around reparations, it's a very tricky conversation. But one thing that is not well known that I think you guys should know is that Lincoln actually paid slave owners who lived in Washington, D.C., $300 for the loss of their enslaved men. So when you think about that, that really starts to put things into perspective. Now, granted, yes, he didn't want anybody within that area to be slave owners. And so that was the way that he tried to work around it. But it's really like sober to think about the fact that our government actually paid slave owners to reimburse them for their loss of no longer having humans that they could enslave and work for them on the plantation. Oh, see, there you go. Give me swampland. Yep. Yes, they could have been. Yeah, because the other thing that we don't talk about is that America is built on this idea of land, right? Of property. And so you are able to acquire wealth by having access to property and access to land. And that really could have changed the game for a lot of Black people. I have to say, my family was one of the few. My father comes from Mobile, Alabama. Which is it's actually Choctaw County, Alabama, but Mobile is what people mostly know. And they were able to get land, so they actually still have that land. And so that helped a lot of Black families. If you were able to purchase land or were able to get a hold on land, that actually helps. But when most countries put a lot more emphasis on property, yeah, so that land would have been really important. The Gullah Geechee people. Yes. They got a whole island, but now that's being taken from them due to gentrification. You only have to be a landowner to vote for a short time. Yeah. American soil. How about that, right? All right, so it's 11:52. I don't want to get too much more into anything else. Irma's like, no. Juneteenth. Yes. Oh, thank you, Miss Williams. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Anybody ever hear of the term Juneteenth? I'm so glad Miss Williams is in here. Okay, so Juneteenth, what are we saying yes to? Was there a question? Oh, how do you guys know all this stuff? Who, the kids or us? Yes, Juneteenth, this is really important. Okay, so first and foremost, if you guys have never been to a parade for Juneteenth, you should definitely go. We have them here in Philly every year. Well, actually, I guess not. We might not have it this year due to Corona. But anyway, so Juneteenth is June 19th, 65. Now, here's the thing. People think because Lincoln was able to, or I should say Grant was able to get Lee to surrender, that ended the Civil War. That is actually not the case. People actually continue to fight for weeks after. And then even after that goes, or after the fighting stops, you still had Union troops going into different places in the Confederacy and like freeing people. So essentially, Black people are still working on plantations. Nobody has told them that slavery is ended. Nobody wants to tell them that slavery is ended. And the Union Army start to come, and so they come into this area of Texas, and I think is it Galveston, Miss Williams? I can't remember. I think that's the city. So they go into Texas, and they're basically walking around. They see Black people working on plantation, and they're like, "What's happening here? Why are these people?" Okay. So this is what we're going to do. So they gathered up all the Black people in the area, and they're basically like, "You're free now. The war's over. Go live your best life." So it is, and stuff like this plays out in multiple places in the South, where people are have to be liberated essentially by the Northern Army. They have to come in and force these slave masters to basically stop enslaving people. And so Juneteenth is the most infamous one. It's the one that's taken off. And some Black people celebrate Juneteenth as opposed to the 4th of July because we were not free during the 4th of July. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And so this is really important. It's a very special time. And if you guys ever get some time, also check out Frederick Douglass's What to the Slave is the 4th of July. And I'll share that too. Yeah, the 13th, well, the 13th Amendment doesn't get passed until the end of the year. Right, yeah. So this is really important, Juneteenth, and the Douglas's What to the Slave is the 4th of July also explains why there are some Black people who may not celebrate 4th of July, but they do celebrate Juneteenth as their holiday for liberation. So that's it for today. Yes, it's a really good speech. It's a wonderful speech. Let me write that up here too so I can remember to what? Okay. So now I can take a picture of the board and send it to everybody. Thank you guys so much for continuing to come back every single day. I really appreciate it. You guys are the best. Yeah. Thank y'all so much. You guys help me out a lot because I need this consistency. I don't know if you guys need the consistency, but I do. So thank you guys for coming. Yes. We love being able to interact with you guys. You guys are like literally the best. You are so welcome, Tiff. I know when we had 100 people here. I know. But it's okay. It's all right. I feel like people are going to start to come back, hopefully, as to check in, because we're going to be in it for a long haul. And everybody, give a shout out to Miss Williams for coming in and helping every day. She's the best. You guys are lucky to have her as a teacher.
Woo-hoo!
Yes. Woo! I know, Miss Williams. I think Mr. Crowder would be ready to fight about that. Womp womp. I know. All right, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'm going to send both videos yesterday and today. Before you guys leave, Height, Superintendent Height is going to be doing a Facebook Live on the School District of Philadelphia's website at 3 o'clock. Oh, you're welcome, Ari. I hope you're enjoying everything. She said don't die. Yes, so if you guys have Facebook, check it out, School District website. He's going to be doing a live. Maybe he'll have more information for us. Maybe he'll have more information. I know he's trying to get computers out to students who don't have it. So if you guys can, tune in. All right, everybody. It was good seeing you guys today. Stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, see you too tomorrow, Miss Usually.
Bye.
Hey, James. See you guys tomorrow.